In 1926, satirist Dorothy Parker wrote a little ditty called News Item. Men seldom make passes at girls who wear glasses. I'd like to say that I stumbled upon this and said, let's do an entire episode on magical transformations in cinema, whereby the movie takes an objectively beautiful woman, puts glasses on her, and calls her dowdy, a nerd, unattractive, grotesque. But it started because I was, you know, I don't even remember how it started now. I remember sending Allan a message.
It was an Adam Sandler movie.
It was an Adam Sandler movie. That is right. That was not a good movie.
We'll be getting into it.
So, that comment spawned this episode, and for that, we apologize. It's well documented. It's no secret. We've all seen She's All That. And if you haven't seen She's All That, there's got to be some fairly interesting reaction videos on YouTube that Allan can attest to.
Yeah. Well, we also we brought this up when we talked about The Substance. And in my trivia thing, I talked about the two versions of The Wasp Woman, where they cast a woman in her early 30s, and her character is supposed to be so old and ugly that she can no longer be the face of a beauty corporation anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I actually it occurred to me that in the second episode I ever appeared on, there is an example of this because is it Dorothy Parker in the Oscar?
Yes.
Not Dorothy Parker. Dorothy. What's it? Eleanor Parker.
Eleanor
Parker.
Ooh,
in the Oscar.
Good rescue.
Where she's like, I think she was like 43 when the movie was made, and again, an objectively gorgeous woman. And the film basically posits that the only reason any man would have sex with her is because she can get them an acting role.
In conception of this episode, I started digging back into the history, and that's when I was reminded of this Dorothy Parker poem, quote, ditty. And that made me question, when was the first time that Hollywood did this? So I traced the lineage of the language coming from Dorothy Parker in 1926. We also have Ogden Nash in 1931, and it's called Lines Written to Console Those Ladies Distressed by Men Seldom Make Passes, etc. He wrote, "A girl who is bespectacled, don't ever get her nectacled, but safety pins and bassinets await the girl who fascinets." This Dorothy Parker quote remained very high in the public consciousness for whatever reason. 1931 as well, gossip columnist Walter Winchell. It is Dorothy Parker's theory that men never make passes at girls who wear glasses. David Murray queries, but how about girls who empty them? So we're getting the ironic twist and puns coming
pretty early.
Within 5 to 6 years, it's common enough that we're quoting it and citing it in everyday newspapers.
It's funny because even as a small kid, and you would hear that like sort of line, even at my earliest age, I always associated it with men's insecurity, because I saw as a young boy who loved women, I saw plenty of women with glasses who I would make passes at, and so I always assumed that it was less like a homely plain thing, and more just the idea that people, like, same thing with Four Eyes, that people associated wearing glasses as almost like a form of intellectualism. And so the idea was that a woman who wore glasses was someone who liked to read, who liked to see things, and who considered those things more important than their vanity. Mm-hmm. Because you would always see these things of, like, in movies and TV shows. I don't really think I've ever encountered too much in real life. I'm sure I have and, like, didn't notice. But this idea of someone who wouldn't wear glasses even though they actually needed them just for pure vanity reasons. And I think, like, I always, in my head, it was sort of like, well, guys don't like women who, like, are devoted to who they actually are themselves and aren't going to change just for a man's opinion, and who is also going to, you know, do things like read a book and have ideas.
Well, I think it's also a generational thing too. When I was going through this, I noted that it was quite a long time before glasses became an actual fashion accessory. It wasn't really, I mean, you get it in the 60s and 70s, but I think the 80s are when glasses really became something that could be used on an attractive woman in a way that was meant to accentuate rather than denote being a brain or dowdy or a marm, whatever it was that it was being done. And there's a direct link here because it is a little ableist, but it's also classist because contact lenses were extraordinarily expensive for a very long time. So, and the older glasses were generally clunky, larger frames, obscuring part of the face.
One size fits all.
There wasn't a lot of options. So the glasses equal smart, spends more time studying, less time having fun, less concern for appearance is one way to go, but it's also they were poorer because they could not use contact lenses, which you can lump into some of the materialism when it comes to the class society. They would automatically be looked down upon. So we've got all of this baggage hanging on to what's objectively a cliche cinema trope makeover by, I would say it's fairly common, and we'll talk about when I think it's like super mainstream in a minute. But I also wanted, at this moment, I've taken the lineage of the quote up through 1931. In 1934, Cecil B. DeMille directed a movie called Four Frightened People.
I'm disgusted with both of you.
You're disgusted?
Yes, I'm disgusted. Can't I have some feelings as well as you? Well, I can, and from now on I'm going to let them out. If I've got to be lost, I'm going to be lost the way I want to be. And do all the things I've wanted to do before I die.
Now, in Four Frightened People, Claudette Colbert wears glasses. She is still very much Claudette Colbert because there's I mean, what are you going to do to Claudette Colbert at this time? Because they don't make her dowdy besides putting these glasses on. And when they introduce the characters at the beginning of the movie, they bring them both up. They bring all four of the main characters up and they give them a title card explaining one piece about the characters. Some nice good old-fashioned, just new talky cinema, right? Claudette Colbert's card says, hang on. And a Chicago school teacher too unimportant for life to notice. That is her card. That introduces Claudette Colbert in this movie. And there's a sort of a row. The Four Frightened People are four people who've jumped on a lifeboat on a plague ship. It's like a plague cruise liner. They escape, leave the boat on the lifeboat, and wind up stranded on an island. and there's some discussion over sleeping together for safety, and Claudette Colbert is, oh no, I can't do that. I'm pure and blah blah blah. That's against all of my. And one of the characters turns to her, basically says, "Shut up. We didn't think of you as a woman anyway." Like, that's the abuse that she's taking in this movie. And her glasses are large, but they're not ghastly. It's not like they're obscuring who it is, and they're not doing much beyond pulling her hair up to say, oh, she's not attractive. She is a dowdy schoolmarm teacher. I think she's a geography teacher, and they make some crack about, oh, of course you're a geography teacher. I'm like, is there some kind of like stigma at this point for geography teachers that's like that mainstream enough to? But the movie is extraordinarily ridiculous in as much as it's kind of supposed to be serious. And you're watching at one point, and this is the last thing I'll say about the movie, because it's a curiosity for Colbert completists. They land on this island.
I hadn't even heard of it.
They land on this island, and they meet islanders, we'll say. Yeah. And they don't speak English. And then all of a sudden,
on a scale of racism 1 to 100.
Hang on. They're supposed to be in the South Pacific. I don't think these people look South Pacific, but they can't talk to them. And then all of a sudden, their chief shows up and says, I think he says, I am the whitest of the bunch, and he has a necktie on. And he's like, you see, I wear a necktie. I speak English. I am the whitest. It's not as bad as it could have been, because they make it silly. So it's how much you can forgive them for just being silly with the idea and not taking it too seriously. It's a strange film. I had to find it on one of the Russian websites. But it
is interesting though, because the movie that I associate Claudette Colbert and Cecil B. DeMille with is The Sign of the Cross, where the main selling point is you get to see Claudette Colbert naked.
Yeah, and it's strange. It's strange to me, just based on the timing of the film, that we thought this was an okay transition for her. This is the same year as It Happened One Night and Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Same year.
Yeah.
Imitation of Life, I think, is also 34. Like, she was a huge star at this point, and she's like playing Herbert Marshall's punching bag in this movie. So it's strange. So that was the first example I could find of a film that really hits the glasses thing hard and trying to say, look, this is an unattractive woman no man could want.
Yeah.
So then, going back to my notes about the descendants of Dorothy Parker, there's a quote in the Winona Republican Herald from 1954, written by Earl Wilson. And he, again, we're punning again. In Hawaii, notes Harry Rolnick, boys make passes at girls who wear grasses. So, in 54, we've gone through glasses as pun for drinking, and now we're talking about grass skirts, grasses, glasses. So this is just out there, and everybody is aware of it. Now, the movie, when I first started thinking about it, the one I knew that I had to bring up was That Touch of Mink, which already parodies the cliche. So there's a conversation between Gig Young, and I don't remember who the woman is. The secretary, maybe. I'm blanking on who she was, but I looked up the script to see the moment, and he says,
"Would you let your hair down?"
What?
Let your hair down. take your glasses off. That's strange. It always seems to work in the movies.
So already by the early 60s, we have a major Hollywood movie starring Cary Grant and Doris Day in which we're making fun of the trope. And I think that's interesting because I'm not so sure there were that many well-known examples in cinema of the dowdy girl with the glasses. But clearly, there's more than I'd recognized. And of course, there's now Voyager, but that's a more total makeover than just glasses. Glasses is a part of it, and we're transitioning multiple years ahead after she's apparently had a very good eyebrow job and has removed the glasses and has a new stylist and has lost, according to the movie, like 30 pounds or something, even though it's clearly the same Betty Davis, just wearing clothes that fit.
Well, and also in fairness, like Betty Davis was an actor who, like, her sex appeal was always debated. It wasn't like she was universally recognized as, you know, that kind of actor. I personally, like, I don't know, I must have saw something when I was young because I've always seen her that way. It's sort of like probably my favorite episode of The Office is the one where they have a debate over whether or not Hilary Swank is hot or not. And it becomes this huge heated like debate, and they get impassioned about it. And that's how I actually remember once we were watching something and she came up, like, this is my family, and I'm probably 15, 16 years old. And we started talking about whether or not Betty Davis was, like, a beautiful, like, sexy actress. And it was funny because my dad and me were arguing that she was, and it was my mom who was arguing that she wasn't.
I do think that's interesting. I think there's some of the... It's interesting looking at her as a gay icon, too, in the same conversation. Yeah. The levels and disparate versions of attraction to Betty Davis. Because even in Now Voyager, they do a fantastic job of making her look like a shrew. And the transition is sort of miraculous.
That's a case where the transition is genuinely believable.
and she inhabited that sort of downtrodden character, and when she reappears again and she's confident and wearing these clothes, and it is a truly transitional, transformative moment. Unlike the movies that we're really talking about, in which it is just a girl with glasses on. And there are...
Well, because... To talk about the Adam Sandler example, just go with it. It's basically, he doesn't see her as attractive until he sees her in a bikini.
Yeah.
Then he's like, oh, I've seen her body now, and I've seen how tight and hot it is.
Well, it's not even just
so now
that.
I can be sexually attracted to her.
It's when they're fitting her for her expensive ex-wife wardrobe, too, when she's wearing dresses, and it's like, my God, you have a body. And I'm like, you know... It is possible to recognize that a woman is physically attractive in day-to-day clothes. Like, she was wearing scrubs, and she wore those scrubs really well. It's like, it's not that hard. It's not like we have to put on a $2,000 dress in order to understand that she's attractive. And they didn't really do anything else. I think they added a little more makeup, too, when they made her glamorous. Like, is like the way to nudge it across the finish line, but it's comically bad that was like, oh well, I've never seen you in this light before. It's like, well, you've been working next to her for quite a long time now.
And it's actually his job. Like, aesthetic appeal is actually his job, and he's been working across from her, and he's never noticed how attractive she is.
Yeah. And I think Brooklyn Decker, when she comes into the film, and she's supposed to be this drop dead gorgeous sex pot. I'm like, I think it's like not like she's coming in and taking over the movie. I still kind of think that Jennifer Aniston was just as hot already, and I don't know what this is adding, because she's also a terrible actress. So now we're really confused about what we're supposed to be feeling.
Whose wedding ring is in your pants, Danny?
We can get into it later because we watched both Just Go With It and Cactus Flower, which it is a remake of. And it's so fascinating watching them back to back and realizing the movie from 1969 is the progressive movie, and the movie from like 2011 is the retrograde sexist movie.
Well, based on the timing and the people behind it, I think that was probably there already on the surface. I don't think we needed to dig too terribly deep into that. I also the one that I also wrote down, we've talked about this in a past episode, was the pirate movie, when we had contemporary Christy McNichol in flannel and glasses. I mean, they're about the worst glasses. She looks like she should be one of like a tertiary member of Napoleon Dynamite's crew. Like when I was looking at it abstractly, like it's really bad. But still, like she's still hot because it's Christy McNichol. Like it's even in that terrible flannel that looks like you dragged it out of some locker from 7 years ago. Like it's. I also had the loaded weapon transition with Kathy Ireland, which I thought was a creative use of the. So Emilio Estevez is hitting on a female scientist, and she's of course wearing glasses, and they're doing this like painful flirting thing because he can't do it, and she's painfully, apparently disgusting. She's a well-known character actress. I for some reason didn't write down her name.
Isn't it the secretary from Moonlighting?
Yes.
That's who it is in my
yes,
head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're like licking their lips back at each other, and she's got spinach in her teeth, and she says, "May I change before we go?" And she like throws her hair down and bends below the camera frame and snaps back, and it's Kathy Ireland. And she's Kathy Ireland as long as she's hasn't put her hair up. Which I don't remember much about Loaded Weapon other than that scene was like the only thing that really stuck out to me.
May I change before I go?
Sure. You should always wear your hair down.
For you, I always will.
Well, I meant because in my list, I didn't focus so much on the glasses aspect. To me, I was looking more at like movies that just tried to convince us that everyone in that movie thought the objectively attractive woman was somehow hideous or unfuckable or undateable for some really bizarre reason. And the first one I thought of was The Truth About Cats and Dogs, where we're led to believe that no man would be interested in Janeane Garofalo, even though when that movie came out, I was obsessed with Janeane Garofalo, because, I mean, that's pretty much... Of that period of my life, she was my ideal woman. And so a movie basically telling me, like, no, you're supposed to find Uma Thurman to be, like, the really attractive, hot one. And Janeane Garofalo is literally a Cyrano de Bergerac level of, undateable.
And that's an interesting one, too, because I think Uma Thurman falls under that not traditionally attractive category. And Janeane Garofalo, I think, is more conventionally attractive than Uma Thurman. Yeah. And it's one of those, but the movie tells you how you're supposed to feel about these two women based on their self-confidence and attire, really, is what it boiled down to.
Well, it's almost like it's trying to tell you, like, it's because Uma's tall and Janeane is short, even though in real life, it's the exact opposite. Like, shorter women have it much easier than taller women.
Yeah.
The other one on my list is I liked one because it's actually the rare reversal, where the movie shows us an actor when like at their most gorgeous, but then later on in the movie puts glasses on her and tries to convince us that now like suddenly she's not the exact same woman we've seen throughout the whole entire movie. And that's, of course, It's a Wonderful Life with oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, Donna Reed.
Yeah.
And it's always funny how during Christmas, I usually don't watch It's a Wonderful Life. I watch 100 It's a Wonderful Life reactions. And it's always hilarious because whenever they have that shot where Jimmy Stewart sees like grown-up Donna Reed for the first time, I've yet to see a reactor that hasn't gasped or gone like, "Oh my god, she's so beautiful." Like, it is one of like, it's probably I would put it second only to like that shot of Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca where Rick sees her after having not seen her for so many years. It's like that level of close-up. And so then later on in the movie, when Jimmy Stewart's character is like seeing what his hometown would be like if he hadn't been born, and it turns out that this incredibly beautiful woman wouldn't have been able to find anyone else but Jimmy Stewart, and becomes this this librarian in glasses who apparently is terrified of men and of life, and it's just it is probably of all the things in that movie, that's the only thing that really truly doesn't work. It is impossible to buy that character wouldn't have like had literally 100 suitors if Jimmy Stewart hadn't been available.
Yes, but in this alternate reality, we don't know how anybody thinks. Maybe she's unattractive in this house bonfire.
I feel like his character had a lot of influence on that town, but I doubt he had influence on the beauty standards of the world at that point.
We didn't see.
I mean, Gloria Graham was still attractive enough to be working as a hooker. Yeah. So.
Hey, you look good. That's some dress you got on there.
What? This old thing? Well, I only wear it when I don't care how I look.
And my other three examples all come from the world of like exploitation movies, because that's just one I think we tend to give more of a pass with those ones because it's like, well, they had less of a budget and boobs are really important. So, but the first one I thought is a movie called The Granny, which was written and directed by Luca Bercovici. He's the guy who's probably best known for doing the first Ghoulies movie. And the premise is that Shannon Weary, who's probably best known to mainstream audiences for being Jim Carrey's sexual assault victim in Me, Myself, and Irene, which is in that scene that really has dated very poorly, where her crime against humanity is openly breastfeeding her child in public, and for some reason the Farrelly brothers think that like makes it okay for his character to sexually violate her in public.
I mean, he was a bad guy. It was just,
but I just like how like all of the things he does in that movie to get back at people, like like when the dog shits on his lawn, he shits on the neighbor's lawn, like all this stuff is sort of like, yeah, he is kind of the victim in those situations. In that one, he is absolutely not a victim. but so that's so she's a very attractive woman who actually, outside of that, starred in movies like Sexual Animal Instincts and stuff like that, like very like Cinemax, like softcore porn. And in this one, we're led to believe that she's the member of the family who's forced to take care of like the family matriarch who has the money, and everyone is talking about how hideous and unattractive she is, and she looks exactly like she does, only she's wearing glasses. And then in the movie, Stella Stevens, who plays her grandmother, she becomes possessed by a demon and becomes the titular, the granny, who ends up killing the rest of the family. And it's funny because even like it's been a while since I've seen it, but I don't even think like there comes a point where where like you have the transformation where like all of a sudden everyone realizes how attractive Shannon Weary is. No, the movie for the entire running time expects you to believe that she is just unattractive and never has a moment where people actually recognize what she really looks like. And then the other example that's similar to that is Monique Gabrielle in Evil Tunes, where the premise of that one, that's a Fred Olen Ray movie where he realized that he could get like he could pay for 5 minutes of animation and then sell basically like the horror movie equivalent of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So it's about these like 5 women who go to this house and receive this haunted book from David Carradine, and they read it, and it activates this demon spirit who takes the form of like an animated Tasmanian devil style cartoon monster. And the way they get around not having to show so much animation is that they actually have him possess one of the actors, so she ends up killing them. And it's funny because at least half of the cast are adult film actresses, including Minnie Gabrielle, who did some of that too. But it's again where like she wears the glasses and all of the other ones are presented as hot and really attractive, but she's the dowdy, nerdy one. And they even have a scene where like she takes off her glasses and she takes off her top and she looks herself in the mirror and like sees herself as sexually attractive for the first time. And it's like, yeah, she's looked like that the entire movie, like just
she needed a better mirror. That it was just the mirror, really. It was like she had to find the right mirror, because not all mirrors are flattering.
The mirror had 2 faces. The mirror had 2 faces.
Baths whenever you want to. Fine.
Yeah. And the last one I had on my list is a Hammer movie called Frankenstein Created Woman, which I can't remember her name. She was a Playboy model, and she's probably best known for being one of the women in the Muds Women episode of Star Trek. And the idea is that her character is hideously deformed, so only one man in the village will date her, and what they do for her hideous deformity is that she has like a large birthmark on one side of her face. It doesn't actually make her any less attractive. It's just, her one side of her face is slightly redder than the other. and her character is
Susan Denberg.
Susan Denberg. And then what happens is that Frankenstein, the Baron, he comes to the town, and he has figured out a way to transfer souls into people's bodies. So her boyfriend, who has been unfairly executed for murder, she commits suicide after he's executed, and the Baron puts his soul into her body. So it's got a bit of an interesting trans sort of allegory in there too at the same time. But somehow when she has this man's soul put into her body, it magically makes her birthmark disappear, and she suddenly looks like Susan Denberg. And so I always thought that was a fun one, where it's slightly different. They don't give her glasses, but they do sort of like make the effort to like put a little bit of makeup on one side of her face, and then they have it her hair covering it like Veronica Lake style. So it's like she's so ashamed of it that she grows her hair out to cover it, but then we also see her without the hair there, and it's like, yeah, no, sorry, she looks exactly the same, just
Well, it's the same thing in Ready Player One with Olivia Cook.
Yeah.
They gave her the birthmark on her face that's supposed to make her too hideous to look at. She's got this, tries to hide it with her hair, and it's like, no. I mean, she's self-conscious, maybe, but
maybe that's one of the references in that movie that people haven't noticed. And maybe it's
Frankenstein Created Woman. Nice. Have to ask Steven about that next time we bump into him.
For the record, I'm not disappointed. You said I would be disappointed when I met you, but I'm not.
I've lived with it my whole life. You don't have to pretend.
birthmark. So what?
But yeah, no, I think it'd be fun to get into like talking about Cactus Flower and just go with it, because it really was like seeing how the two films took the same premise, and how basically it shows like just how much the Adam Sandler formula can really fuck up what would seem like a unfuckable concept, because Cactus Flower, like, I found Cactus Flower, like, it was probably 20 minutes too long. It's based on a stage play, and it's pretty talky and stage bound, but it benefits from having like 3 really great performances from its leads.
You can stage bound all you want when you've got that
level of cast
team together with a screenwriter who at that time was pretty much could do no wrong. I mean, his filmography at that particular moment was pretty ridiculous. It's starting with, I mean, you could go back to Some Like It Hot, 1959, in The Apartment, 1, 2, 3. We'll skip over Irma there because I don't think much of that one. But Fortune Cookie, Cactus Flower, Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. I mean, all these, it helps to work with Billy Wilder on occasion. Yeah. But I.A.L. Diamond was, I mean, when he started working in comedy was when he really took off. And the screenplay is, I mean, it's really funny. And I've read the stage play. I didn't read the whole thing. I picked it up so I could kind of give it a quick glance. And I think the screenplay is funnier even on the page, what the changes that were made. And again, you have Goldie Hawn, who's an absolute firecracker, just like bursting onto the screen in this film. And
she pulled an Audrey and won an Oscar for what was her first major role in a movie.
And the Lemon and Math Hour fun, obviously, but you can't stop watching Goldie Hawn in this movie.
Well, it happens you were going about it all wrong. I believe you're supposed to put your head in the stove.
Well, it's a second-hand stove. There were no directions.
So, why did you do it? Because of Julian?
How do you know about Julian?
You called me that while you were kissing me.
I wasn't kissing you. You were kissing me. And by the way, is that all you did?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting to contrast it with Just Go With It, where you totally understand why Walter Matthau is with Goldie Hawn, and you totally understand like what her appeal is. And then you have Just Go With It with Brooke and Decker, where it is clearly only about her body. Like, there is nothing about her in that movie that would suggest like Adam Sandler would become that obsessed with her. So it is like, I was talking about how like retrograde Just Go With It is, and that was like they took this character who is so dynamic and interesting and adorable in Cactus Flower, and turned her into this like naive, sweet, kind of dumb woman with like a Victoria's Secret model's body.
Yeah, there's just she's contributes nothing to really any conversation that leads you to believe there's substance there. And this character, in order to vex the protagonist in such a way, I think needs to be more than, because if she's not more than just the body, you don't care about the main character anyway. Like, he's obsessed with her for her body, and he's screwing up everything in his life right now. And you don't feel sorry for him. Whatever decision he makes is like, you're a fuck up, and this is just another one of your fuck ups.
Well, just for people who haven't seen them, just basically the premise of both films is that Matthau and Sandler play doctors. In Cactus Flower, he's a dentist. In Just Go With It, he's a plastic surgeon. And the idea is that they're both sort of like womanizers, and they fall in love with this one woman, but in order to like always keep in order to be in more control of his casual relationships, he's come up with this fake family that he can say like, oh, like I can't marry you, I can't make this serious because I'm already married, and so we'll just have to keep this light and casual. But of course he's not actually married, it's a lie. But then he meets this woman who he's actually seriously in love with, but because she thinks he's married, he has to come up with a fake wife and family in order to like divorce themselves from that so he can move on to this new relationship. And in Cactus Flower, the fake wife is Ingrid Bergman, and in Just Go With It, as we've already mentioned, it's Jennifer Aniston. And it is like Bergman was slightly older than Aniston in this role. Like she was, I think, 53, but like I just adored her in this. I think my favorite moment in the entire movie is where she's in a club dancing, and she's like had the makeover, and she's kind of drunk, and this younger man goes,
"Relax. Let's not get neurotic about age. You're a very sexy lady."
An old sexy lady.
Good. Let's run away and live on your Social Security.
But it's also like watching Just Go With It. It really is a gross movie. Like, even just like
I will admit that I laughed way more than I should have at sheep PR.
I will say I equally hated both of the comic sidekicks in this movie. Like I will say, like I didn't like Nick Swartzen. I'm never going to like him in anything, but I'm also not a big Jack Weston fan. So I think that was one knock I will give Cactus Flowers. I think it had a bit too much Jack Weston in it.
Yeah, I've liked him in some roles, but this one was trying too hard to be. Well, it's a strange role because the movie's funny on like. It didn't need.
Yeah, it didn't need him.
It didn't need that element.
I think like when I say it's 20 minutes too long, I'm saying cut out all the Jack Weston stuff.
And then like with Just Go With It, the sidekick there was just extraordinarily annoying.
Yeah.
It's another situation we couldn't believe that he was obsessed with Brooklyn Decker because she was vapid, and it's like, why is this guy
your best friend
in your life?
Oh no, they're cousins. They're cousins. That's why. I think that's how they justify it.
But he's they needed to. We needed to sever that tie.
Yeah.
For the movie's sake. It could have been written differently too, but then again, I'm talking about an Adam Sandler movie, and then I don't know why I bother. I really wanted to like the movie more than I did, just because of the pedigree.
Yeah,
and it's like you've taken this premise, and he has. I think he and Jennifer Aniston work well together, but you made that central character unlikable again with his attachments. Like he was sort of irredeemable by the end of the movie. So when they wind up together, it's just like, well, she doesn't deserve that.
It has what I call the Bollywood problem, because it's a big issue in a lot of Bollywood movies, is where in order to like up the dramatic stakes, they'll make the leading man in a romantic comedy so unlikable that you actually end up resenting the heroine at the end of the movie for actually like just forgiving him. It's like, no, like he's completely toxic and you should never talk to him again.
Well, this premise makes that a tricky balance too, because he has to be a character that is deceitful from the beginning. He's already setting himself up as a bastard.
Well, they try to justify it with the opening scene where he's like got this huge almost offensively like ethnic nose.
It's bad.
And you see him overhear his fiance basically talking about how awful his family is and how she's just marrying him for like terrible reasons. And so he basically and after that he goes to a bar in sort of like with his like wedding ring still on, and and a woman basically like hits on him thinking he's married, and that's where he gets this idea. So we're supposed to feel sorry for him that he was in this position, that he started lying like this. And I was like, sorry dude, I never felt sorry for you. Just because someone does something shitty to you doesn't mean you get to be shitty.
And he's also really shitty to Jennifer Aniston throughout the first like half of the film. So when we're then led to believe that they've given her, I guess, rewind. Conceptually, it makes sense. In execution, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the Adam Sandler grotesqueries that have to be cluttered around the film. And that makes us question all the decisions that everyone is making in the film. Whereas in Cactus Flower, you're looking at that and everyone is mostly within the realm of reason.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as you can with the premise. So we're not disassociating out of necessity for personal salvation or looking at these characters as irredeemable. They're caught up in their own lies. And it's a perpetuating thing. But when the character has done everything to make himself more unlikable is when the premise sort of falls apart underneath the weight of that actor. And it's almost the setup is so strong that it's frustrating when all of these Sandlerisms come in to derail it. And you're like, why couldn't we have just... Like, I look at Wedding Singer as the peak of the Adam Sandler filmography. And so Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore came before it, and in those it was sort of a juvenile, charming version of that in a way that's like, it's simple and silly and occasionally like buffoonish, but it's well intentioned. After Wedding Singer, which is I think he's just reined in from some of his worst tendencies in that. He's not like, this is the peak of his popularity. After this, he starts producing and getting more power to shape the product.
Yeah. It's also an early example of him doing stuff like he famously will pick movies based on where he wants to vacation. And you could tell with Just Go With It, he wanted to go to Hawaii. Yeah, why not?
It's a perk.
Yeah.
I can't deny him the fact that that's a good deal. And it's frustrating because you want the balance that's in Wedding Singer. Like, he can do Adam Sandler within a real cinematic construct. And that's a very traditional narrative, like 80s throwback. I mean, it's not at all original, but it's done with charisma from all involved, and they really sell the package. And Billy Idol, who is just like the perfect capper on that in the airplane scene.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of buy-in.
Yeah.
After that, it feels like you're feeding a fan base, and there's really no consideration for making a movie a real, actual film. And I was looking for... When I decided to watch Just Go With It, I was instructed by my family to find a romantic comedy they hadn't seen and that they'd like. And I was out of all I mean, they've churned through everything I could think of. So I was like scrolling things that I hadn't seen and we'd watched, and kind of enjoyed the murder mystery movies that he did with Jennifer Aniston. I was like, oh, I forgot he did this movie with Jennifer Aniston way back. Like, it looked dumb, but hey, let's give it a shot. So that's why I ended up watching it in the first place. And it didn't exactly live up to hopes for that movie. I read that people really did sincerely enjoy it, and there were elements that I thought were funny. Like I said, that I laughed way too hard at sheep PR, and just the weird sheep doll that they were using to give CPR to, like just the absurdity of that was like the right note. But for every one of those, you had two other things that, while I didn't outright kill the movie for me, certainly left me like questioning the decision-making process that led to this, like the package that we're presenting. And when you're lifting something like Cactus Flower, stage play, screenplay, all the other iterations, why didn't we watch the Egyptian version, by the way?
Well, there's also a Bollywood version. I tried to find it. I almost watched it.
The Egyptian version was also released in 1969, which was interesting. Would have been an interesting comparison. But it's like it's got this history, and you take a good premise and you try and modernize it. You don't have to work so hard to modernize it. I think you let the farce stand on its own a little bit more than I think they just tried too hard.
I think it has the opposite problem of Cactus Flower. Like I said, Cactus Flower feels a bit too stagey, whereas Just Go With It feels a bit too big for the premise. Like the whole thing to Hawaii, like it really truly does just feel like Sandler going like, we're gonna go to Hawaii because I want to have like a 2-month vacation in Hawaii, and it doesn't add anything to the movie. Like they could have easily taken all those scenes and put them in New York, except for the CPR movie, but I feel like that's only in there because they're like, oh, we're in fucking Hawaii. What can we do in Hawaii?
If I'm being honest, you can find a way to shoehorn a sheep into just about anything.
Yeah. I was going to.
It didn't need to be Hawaii.
Like it's another example of sort of how I feel bad for celebrities, like really talented, good actors who get roped into sort of having smaller roles in these movies as sort of like the idea of like, oh, it'll be a laugh. And in this case, it's Nicole Kidman who plays Jennifer Aniston's sort of like the woman who Jennifer Aniston has always been jealous of, like a former sorority sister who has always made her feel bad about herself. And it turns out she's at the same resort in Hawaii, and so they have to, like, it becomes an added layer of farce that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I felt particularly bad when they have to do the dance.
The hula scene. That is probably
the hula scene.
I hated that scene so much, and it seemed to me
it was hard to watch.
It truly represents what I dislike about sort of the Sandler ethos, is because it expects us to be as terrible as it imagines people are. Because the whole idea is that they're having this hula contest, and they ask women like from the crowd to come on, and basically the crowd boos all the normal looking women and applauds Jennifer Aniston and Nicole Kidman, and we're supposed to go like, oh, that's just normal, that's how people behave. And it's like, no, like if you were at that, people would be nice and they would applaud for like the older woman in her 60s in a hula thing. They wouldn't they wouldn't go like, ooh, get her off stage. Like it was just gross.
They wouldn't boo her off. It was gross. And they boo everybody off that's not those two,
that are not the two movie superstars on stage. Like
right. and then you feel bad for these two movie superstars having to do what they're doing in the scene, which is an extra weird layer of feeling bad about this scene in itself.
These are two of the hottest chicks we have ever had up here, but our job is not done. I need your help because I need a winner. Let me hear you. Wow, that is going to be tough to beat. Let's not kid anybody. How about over here? There you have it. We have ourselves a tie. We have ourselves a tie.
That's great, but we both win. Good. What's the tiebreaker?
Yeah, I think that the scene at the lagoon, and that's where basically where Sandler he's starting to have notice things about Jennifer Aniston's character, but like I said, it's really not truly until he sees her in the string bikini that he goes oh my god, she's just as good as this Victoria's Secret model that I'm in love with. And it truly, it says everything to me about an Adam Sandler movie, or about Adam Sandler in general, is that, they think that this is, normal, that this is fine, that's it's fine to not notice that a woman is attractive until I see that, she has Jennifer Aniston's body. And yeah, no, that's just... I really hated that. But it is interesting how with Cactus Flower, you don't have that issue, and it's because in this 1969 movie, they treat the 2 female leads with such respect. There's even a subplot where this diplomat from the UN keeps coming to the dentist office specifically to hit on Ingrid Bergman. So the movie, it's funny because we watched it because it was connected to just go with it is the remake, but it's actually not an example of the phenomenon we're talking about, because at no point are we led to believe that Ingrid Bergman isn't Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same quality about it at all, and it's such a crucial element in the I didn't notice you were hot until you were naked.
And you could even say that's even going an added step above and beyond, because like I said, she was around 53 when she made it. So the fact that it is treating her as hot as she actually is actually kind of extraordinary for that period, because in that time it would have been totally plausible for them to try to play off the fact that because she is a middle-aged woman that suddenly that makes her less attractive.
And it is interesting, when I was watching it too, I had expectations for the Goldie Hawn character, because where she was in her career.
Yeah.
And basically up until this point, she had been the perfect 60s ditz.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that here except in glimmers. She really wasn't...
She's savvy.
She didn't have to do that.
She's a smart girl. It's not. They don't even try to pretend that she's a dumb blonde. The one thing you get over is that she's a bit over emotional. She literally tries to commit suicide at the beginning of the movie because Walter Matthau hasn't shown up for their anniversary dinner. Cancel on her, and that sort of but that's as basically as high as she gets. It's almost like she takes a turn after that. She recognizes how dumb that was and how he's not really worth that. And then sort of he has to, that's the moment where he goes oh, now I have to chase her instead of the other way around. And also now I realize she is worth chasing. And so I think that's the interesting flip that it plays there.
Okay, Julian, what are you trying to tell me?
What makes you think I'm trying to tell you anything?
You're not a stingy man, Julian, but you're not the last of the big-time spenders either.
Well, as a matter of fact, there was something that I wanted to tell you. It's about me and my...
Your wife? I get the message.
You do?
Yeah. Last night, you and she, for old time's sake.
No, that's absurd.
Julian, don't apologize. After all, it was I who told you to be nice to her. Of course, it was up to you to decide how nice.
But it is hard to overstate just how much the Sandler people do not care about her character at all. And it is sort of fascinating. How do you watch that movie and go, let's remake this, but let's get rid of the thing that makes this a good movie?
Yeah, and it wasn't even like it was a secret, one of those only the diehard film critics recognized as the winning chemistry of the film. It was nominated for an Academy Award and won the Academy Award. So to totally undermine the quality of that performance in your own version, again, we're talking about the wild creative choices. That's one of them.
What do you what?
It's almost like Brooklyn Decker said yes. So, and then what do you do with Brooklyn Decker?
Well, and I don't even know if they start. I just got the sense that they were okay, who's around right now who has the kind of body that we could buy that Adam Sandler would do all of this stuff just for that body? Like, I think if they had found like someone else besides Brooklyn Decker, they would have been fine. I think they weren't casting a character, they were casting a body.
Mm-hmm. Which, it shouldn't be hard to find a body with personality.
Yeah.
And just you didn't much. You just need a little bit, because once she's done acting, you just you're left with this sense that there's no.
I will say that Goldie Hawn was actually given material to work with. I've seen Brooklyn Decker. She's in Grace and Frankie, and she's actually pretty good in that. So I will say, like, given the right material, she can actually, deliver a fairly decent performance.
I don't think I'd seen her act in anything else that I remembered.
Yeah, no, I will say, like, she's given nothing in this movie.
That's when I finished my Girl Scouts.
So I was going to ask, what's your take on Dennis Dugan as a director? Because he's made two of his comedies I will defend pretty strongly, and the rest are pretty much all garbage, which is a pretty interesting. But also I like him as an actor. Like, I always really liked him as a character actor, so it is sort of interesting that he just
let's see. He knew not to get in the way of Happy Gilmore.
That one I will get it's not one of the two I'm talking about. Of his, like, Adam Sandler ones, that's the one I would give a pass to. I'm not a huge Happy Gilmore fan, but I don't hate it like the way I hate some of the other Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, I rewatched it for the first time recently and did not think it was as funny as I thought at the time, because, I mean, it was just the zeitgeist at that moment. So I did enjoy what it was. But again, it was just a matter of not getting in the way of the bit.
Well,
and
I think
that is also a skill.
Yeah. Well, but I think the issue is that he's more of, like, a yes man than a director, which is why he gets hired for these kind of movies. Like, the two that I like are the two where I feel like he actually had, like, control, and that's Brain Donors. And
that's the one I was going to say is the one that's like, I lament everything that came after Brain Donors almost, because, like, you had, like, a singular talent inside that you could bring out, and creating an eccentric modern update of the Marx Brothers in what is essentially a pitch perfect homage is something that not many people could pull off,
or would even attempt.
So, or even attempt, right? Like, could do, like, the fact that it was made, that it was successful,
successful in terms of it being a good movie,
in terms of being funny, not in selling tickets. I saw that in a almost entirely empty theater on opening weekend.
It didn't even play in Edmonton. I read all about it. I couldn't wait to see it, and eventually, like, it showed up at the video store one day, and I was like, "Oh, I get to finally watch this."
I did turn one of my friends onto it in high school, and he wrote his senior English thesis on Brain Donors.
Yeah.
It was a comedy and literature class. And he somehow sold our teacher on writing on Brain Donors.
Yeah.
So he wrote this massive paper on Brain Donors. So I took some pride in forcing Brain Donors upon our 75-year-old glasses-wearing matronly professor, Dr. Markle. We'll say that. But yeah. I don't have a second one.
For me, it's Saving Silverman. I think that actually is... I haven't watched it in a while, but, like, it's very similar to the Sandler movies in terms of its crassness. But I think just because it doesn't have Sandler in it, and it is Dugan working with more up and coming actors at the time, like Jack Black and Steve Zahn, that it just sort of, it has a slightly different energy, and the way it offends in a way that is more interesting than in the other movies.
What do you think of her?
Who?
Right there.
In the red? Oh, Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Go talk to her. No. Okay, I'll do it for you.
What? Hey, wait!
Wayne! Hi, I'm Wayne.
No.
No, you don't understand. I'm not hitting on you.
Back off.
I just, want to tell you about my buddy Darren. He's smart. He's sensitive.
I don't care.
Think he'd make a wonderful husband.
I don't want to meet him.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Gene Saks to make a determination about his career. I don't even think I've seen I haven't even seen The Odd Couple. It's one that sort of I need to get to.
I watched, that was on my shame list a couple of years ago. I watched it for the first time, and I will say that having watched a lot of the TV series, that it's got a tonal difference to it that threw me a little. I would need to watch the movie again, but the TV series was like, I had ingested that to a certain extent. So the differences with the characters in the movie made it more difficult. I didn't love it.
Yeah. Well, it's the difference between Neil Simon and Gary Marshall, and that's actually a pretty huge difference.
Yeah. It was... I just never stopped to consider it. I just kind of went in without thinking about it. And my initial response was, I don't know why this was such a big film. But I'm very hot and cold on Neil Simon to begin with.
Same. And
I like ones that a lot of people don't. So I'm just not sure how how that sits. I think if I had seen that first, I would have felt more receptive. Again, I think it's obvious that I feel more receptive, but I just think that the staginess of the film kind of hampers it in certain ways.
It is interesting because I think I've seen maybe a total of 5 minutes of the series, and that's just purely because it was never syndicated in this area. So it was a case, I never got a chance to watch it.
It was always around, and it wasn't something I ever... It was just on in the afternoons. And
I 100% would have watched it if it was on. It just was never on. But it is interesting because despite that, when I hear The Odd Couple, I still think Tony Randall and Jack Klugman before I think of Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. And to the point that I've never seen anything of the show, but I do own the record album, The Odd Couple Sings, which is it's infamous for its cover of You're So Vain, which I genuinely love. Like, it's not like a thing where I like it ironically. Listening to it genuinely makes me happy.
Some dreams, they were clouds in my coffee, clouds in my coffee.
Clouds in your coffee?
So big. You probably think this song is about you.
Yes.
You're so vain.
The song is about me, isn't
I
it?
bet you think this song is about you.
Yes. Yes.
But there's the second half consists of like an operetta, and it's like if you ever find this album, you probably listen to it on YouTube. Highly recommend it. It's often presented in like the worst albums ever list, but it actually, if you listen to it for what it was actually meant to be, it is a work of minor genius.
So I looked up Saks. You said you hadn't seen it, and I knew just based on the timing, Odd Couple and Cactus Flower because of but I've seen all of his movies except for Mame. So I've got that going for me. And what's weird is that I think I'd say my favorite is Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Yeah.
I just watched Barefoot in the Park, and it's not... I didn't think it was great.
It's one where you just watch it just because Redford and Fonda are so hot and they have such great chemistry together. But in terms of the actual plot and the movie itself, it's sort of like we are purely following the leads. We are not actually following the movie.
Yeah, it was, the whole premise was strained and sort of felt, labored execution of the concept, and they didn't feel like real characters to me at any point. Mm-hmm. What I really liked about that film was Charles Boyer.
Yeah.
So like I went in expecting the Redford and Jane Fonda thing. I was expecting their performances to stand out, but it was like when Boyer came, it was like, okay, this movie's not as bad. Like, this is when the movie lights up, is when Charles Boyer shows up. And Last of the Red Hot Lovers again was I love the cast. And it's a movie that might grow on me if I give it some time and rewatch it. But I mean, all the elements, that the staginess and the almost feeling stage bound, even when you're on the movie screen, that one has it gets over talky in stages when we have, because he keeps trying to have an affair in Last of the Red Hot Lovers, and he has new women, and they have a scene together where he fails to consummate his affair for various reasons. So you have like Sally Kellerman and Paula Prentice, and they have these long drawn out scenes, and they go a little longish.
That's Alan Arkin, isn't it? He's the star of that one, or
Alan Arkin.
For some reason, in my mind, it and Choo Choo and the Philly Flash are the same movie. I haven't seen either of them, but just when I could not tell them apart. Like,
it's not that movie. But this is the thing. All those Alan Arkin movies are inherently watchable because 1970s Alan Arkin was playing with a different set of cards.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want some ice?
Positive. You just did it again.
Did what?
Smelled your fingers. That's the third time you smelled your fingers since I'm here.
Did I do that? I wasn't even conscious of it.
Was that an occupational hazard? Owning a fish restaurant and always wondering how your fingers smell?
Well, see, I handle a lot of fish every day. And I've used soap, I've used aftershave lotion, I've used perfume, I've even used turpentine. All of it's all right for a couple hours. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it comes back in again like the tide. I know it's not the suavest thing in the world going around smelling your fingers, right?
So let's recap. So glasses can be sexy, but not before 1962. What was really tired is the she's all that version of the trope.
Yeah.
When they've done nothing else to sell the idea that we're supposed to think that this is an unattractive woman.
If we're talking, you mentioned a bunch of earlier, like, sort of parodies of this, but another good one is in Not Another Teen Movie, where it's I believe it's Chyler Lee and what's the Canadian actress who was in the Adam McGowan movies. I can't remember her name, but like it literally, like, she puts her in front of a mirror and literally takes off her glasses and takes the rubber band out of her hair, and then she goes,
I did it. I'm a miracle worker.
So to wrap it up, Hollywood, stop casting objectively hot women as plain women. That's just dumb. We all see it. And we know we get it. We know there are a bunch of women who are unconventionally attractive who can play these roles, but you don't want to hire them, and that's dumb because they're great.
Yeah, I think that's about it. That sums up our entire feelings on the matter. You can go all the way back to Dorothy Parker and recognize that it was a joke at the time too.
Yeah.
That was also a joke in the 30s and the 60s, and somehow we were still doing it for realsies in the 90s and beyond. 2011, we've just spoken of a movie that used that concept liberally.
Shall we end with the only other Dorothy Parker poem that I know?
Yes. Yes, I don't know any others.
This is, she was famously, was at, what was the name of Hearst's castle? I want to say Xanadu, but I know that's Kane's castle. That's not. Anyways, the story is that she and another guest who were there for the weekend were caught together, like basically having sex in a room together, and Hearst was scandalized that they would do this, so he ordered her to leave, and before she left, she wrote in their guest book, upon my honor, I saw the Madonna standing above the niche, above the door of a world-class whore and a first-class son of a bitch.
Yes, well done, Dorothy.
Had hit the hood of Eastwood, that well-known meanie who like Bellini thought absurd. Soderbergh's claim that famous Harold Ramis was the greatest director in the history of cinema.
You have chosen wise.